Hey, this is Dave of the Shepherd School, and today I want to do a little bit of talking about mindset. And this is something that I started thinking about pretty early. Back when I was in the service, I had kind of a mentor, a guy named Sergeant B, and he's Gunny B now, so apparently he was pretty good at his stuff. But one day we were walking to the chow hall, and he looks at me and he says, "Hey Nash, what's the most important thing in your life?" And being me, I thought about it for a second, and I'm like, I don't know, liberty, freedom, Constitution, I don't know. So he reached up and he started choking me, right? And I'm flailing around trying to get Sergeant B to let me go. And he goes, "No, air punk." And he probably doesn't remember that anymore, but it kind of stuck with me. And it ends up with a philosophy that I've got that I try to teach the wife a little bit. And that is, what's important now? If you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, shelter, security stuff is at the bottom of the pyramid, and then it moves up to the top where you're fully actualized as a human, and you can worry about stuff like, ethics and what fulfills you. But you can't really move up until you take care of all the needs at the lower level, the more primitive based needs. And so the wife calls me, hail damage and freaking out or whatever. I just say, calm down. Is anybody dead? Is anybody hurt? And then we move down the checklist. And so what's important now frees you up to be able to use your resources to think, right? And it cuts out panic. If you're in a position where it's just overwhelming, and you can kind of turn that little switch and go, what do I need to do right now, this second, okay? As far as an emergency management technique. And it flows into something else that I find pretty important, and that's the rule of threes. And that is what is important. You can only live about 3 minutes without air, as reference to Sergeant B choking me, right? So as soon as I started losing air, that was what I had to deal with right then, okay? Then the next is you can live about, 3 hours without shelter out in the cold, right? So hypothermia, heat stroke, out in the desert, whatever, you got to take care of that. Then you can live about 3 days without water. And so a lot of people with their food storage, they neglect water sources, and they shouldn't. It's not as sexy and as cool as having the AR and the year supply of food, but having some multiple ways of getting water is pretty important because it's higher on the list, right? Then you can live about 3 weeks without food, right? And on and on and on. So what's important now goes with this rule of threes. What's the most needed for you to survive, right? And as you do your planning, you think about those two things, and it helps you have a more realistic plan, and it helps you able to actually use the elements of your plan rather than having this dogma of, I'm going to do this. It lets you figure out what you're going to do. So anyway, that was on my mind, and I just wanted to spit that out at you. And you can always see more and hear more about how we do stuff at our house at www.tngun.com.
I've got a plan, fits my point of view. I'm